Hello, and welcome to Let's Talk About It.
Our public safety presentation by our wonderful police department. Would you all please come forward, the presenters? As they're coming up, I want to introduce our District 3 Bowie City Council member, Clinton Truesdale. Thank you for being here. And also I saw Jared Hawkins, our at-large council member for the city of Bowie as well. All right, thank you. We're gonna work you hard, cowboy.
Y'all just don't know. Councilperson Watson been beating up on me since the day we met at our first council introduction. That's why I brought all this help. Scared.
The rest of us are cowboy fans.
Here we go. I don't want to turn this into a crime meeting for the town hall, so what we'll do is I'll go over well, first of all, as I said, I brought a bunch of folks with me, so first of all, in the back and around the room is my community engagement officers for Bowie, so please give them a hand. They're the ones that did it. I'm sitting there staring at a computer screen and going to meetings, and they're out here on the ground doing the work every day. None of this happens without our folks out here working with you every day. So I'm going to try to be brief, give a few high-level numbers comparing the county crime with District 4 specific crime, and then let my team talk about the summer crime initiative and our philosophy for this year and how that's going, and then any other thing, and leave it for you all for questions. Fair enough? All right. I'm told you all are very informed. We'll have plenty of questions, so I'm going to get out of the way. So, first of all, I'm just going to talk about the numbers that everybody always asks about. So if there's any specific numbers you want, I got more data than you ever want to see, so trust me. But I'm only going to talk about 4 or 5 of the big categories. First of all, homicide ops. For the entire county, we've had 59 homicides. 50 of those are within PG County's jurisdiction, meaning we work the homicides for all municipalities. So as an example, Bowie is a perfect example. In fact, in Bowie, they work their own robberies, thefts, car thefts, all those things. The Bowie Police Department works. If there's a homicide in Bowie, then the police department, PG County, works it. And so that's counted in those 59. We do that for Bowie, Hyattsville, and several other municipalities, most of them. Only 2, I think, work their own homicides now, right? So we've had 59 in the entire county, 50 in our jurisdictions. 13 of those have been domestic violence. 48 of those have been by gunfire. 3 of those so far have been marijuana related, because I know that's going to come up. However, in District 4, last year, year to date, there were 5 homicides in Bowie by this time. This year, you're down 80%. There's only been 1 homicide in Bowie this year. Next category will be robberies, our nemesis. Overall, robberies include commercial robberies, residential robberies, citizen robberies, and carjackings. Overall, we're up 12% for the county. Biggest category being citizen robberies, which is 22%. In Bowie, this is also projected because you are up 17 officers for a total of 59% in citizen robberies. However, you're beating the entire county in the carjacking category. In carjacking category, this year we're up 9%. This has been our true nemesis. Last July we had 65 carjackings for the whole county, not in Bowie, the whole county. And so that's the number we're striving to beat. But so far this year, we've had 249 carjackings versus 228 last year. So an increase of 21 or 9%. District 4 carjackings last year you had 15 years to this date, and this year you've only had 10, so you're down 33% year-to-date in Bowie. So you all are one of the few places we're getting it right in regards to carjackings. But to put that in perspective for you, DC, and they don't even count all the carjackings we count as carjackings, but they've had 515 carjackings this year, year-to-date, versus 261 last year. So they're up 97% just to the middle of summer. So they're struggling worse than we are. And our carjackers are coming from over there. So domestic violence is always important to me. So far, the county overall is down 2% for domestic violence. However, we're up 20% or 17 officers for domestic violence with weapons, which is disturbing. So we're trending the right way, but high in the wrong categories. In District 4, your domestic violence is up 46% overall. That means you're up 50% in domestic violence with weapons. So you went from 12 to 18. Without a weapon, you went up 38 offenses from 79 to 117. So family violence. And short of cops being sitting in living rooms and mediating, not a whole lot we can do there, but I think there's things we can do within the system to try to mitigate these things and make sure we target those who are repeat offenders and things of that sort, just like we would with any other crime. Because typically, domestic violence escalates. It's not a first time. So we've already had meetings with Judge Hall and her team, and we're all focused. In fact, I'm told today they opened 2 new domestic violence courts. And so it is a focus for the PG Police Department and the courts, and we're going to work hand in hand to get a handle on it. But overall, the county is down 2%. And then finally, the worst crime in PG County. Some of it's y'all's fault, I'm just going to say it. The worst crime in PG County is anything doing with your car. Either they stealing your car, they taking something off your car, or you leaving your keys in it, and they taking it. Right? Or they're taking it from you, unfortunately. Oh yeah, taking stuff out of your car. You leave your Louis Vuittons and such in there in Bowie, you know, and you give them what Chief calls an assist. So stop assisting them. Lock your stuff up, take your stuff in the house, or hide it so they just don't look in the car and get free stuff. We call that a gift. We should even take a report. But overall, worst category. If they stop stealing cars today, I probably won't win this category by the end of the year. That's just being honest with you. Last year, to this date, we had 1,540 cars stolen. Somebody guess what the number is so far this year? Give me a wild guess, one wild guess.
2,000.
How many?
2,000.
4,502 for an increase of 192%. However, the vast majority of that is driven by Hyundai and Kia TikTok challenge. So, I just told you we're up 192% in stolen cars. If I take Hyundai and Kia only out of that number, we're only up 66% and only have 2,300 stolen versus 4,000 stolen, 4,500 stolen. So Hyundais and Kias did us in. In your district, for stolen vehicles, last year you had 138 to date, year to date. How many do you think you got this year? How many?
5,700.
Say count for them. You said 300, I heard you. Who else said 500? You've been reading my statute over there. 513 year to date in District 4. You've got the same problem. 264 of those are Hyundais and Kias. So without the Hyundais and Kias, instead of being up 272%, you'd only be up 100%. Anybody here driving a Hyundai or Kia? Nobody? Oh no, I'm gonna tell them there's something car. If you got one, they gonna take it. Now, it's only the Hyundais and Kias that have the twist turn, because they can be started with a USB plug, which sure you've seen all over the news. If you got a key fob and push to start, then you're probably okay. But either way, lock your cars, put a club on it, put a tracker on it, use an old school kill switch, put a GPS on it, do something to help us out here. And then finally, property crime overall. Property crime is up about 50%, both in the county and in Bowie. Total crime is up 40% both. And so that's kind of where the overall numbers, any specific numbers you guys need before I move it on to my team. But we are trending down. Last 2 weeks ago, violent crime total, right now our violent crime for the county is up 2% total. A week ago we were up 3%. So we're trending in the right direction very slowly, not fast enough for me because any violent crime is too much, but we are trending in the right direction. We think we will win the violent crime fight and lose the stolen car fight. So we're focused on violent crime. So, and then I'll have Deputy Chief McCreary talk about the summer crime initiative philosophy.
Try to be brief, and after all that bad news that you got, EBC ended on the positive note that we're trending in the right direction. But one of the things that is good news actually is that we have a plan to combat this crime and combat the incidents that we're having. When Chief Aziz arrived here, he put under Bureau Patrol, which is my bureau, and all the men and women that you see here in the uniforms that work here in Division 2 every day fall under this. When he got here, he wanted to come up with seasonal initiatives for every season that comes up. So currently with our summer, we have a fall initiative, a holiday initiative, a winter initiative, and a spring initiative. And during each of those initiatives, we have different challenges that we face during those times. Again, we're under currently the summer initiative, which during the summer, one of the things that we deal with is more people around. They're out, they're about. We have kids out of school, and those are the challenges and things that we try to combat. So we see an increase in things like citizen robberies. We see an increase in things like carjackings because there's people out and about. And we see an increase in juvenile incidents and juvenile crime because we don't have our youth in school occupied with doing something. The county does its best to provide programs, and parents do their best to provide something where they have camps and things like that. So when we have in each of these initiatives, every initiative, it doesn't matter if it's spring, summer, or fall, we come up with something under enforcement, which is the typical things that you see police out there doing. The traditional aspects that you expect us to do is not only just responding to calls, but traffic stops, public contacts, and things of that nature. We also have a community aspect. So incidents like, events like these where we come out, we talk to the public under every division. Again, the beautiful men and women back here in our community engagement unit do an excellent job of putting on things throughout the summer. It's basketball, it's youth events, it's coffee with a cop. I'm sure I'm missing a few. We got barbecue cook-offs and all kinds of things that we run in every division where we try to impact because we don't want people to see us at the worst possible times in their lives. We want to make sure that we're making those community contacts when our men and women throughout the county and our citizens here aren't in crisis. So we want to make sure that we're making those contacts and developing those partnerships throughout the year. And then the second part is what Chief Aziz and Chief Hale kind of call as an assist. We don't want Steph Curry coming down the lane, passing off to Draymond and giving them a layup. So that prevention aspect. So things we get out and make sure that we're getting on next door, we're getting with these community events, we're providing prevention information, and we're making sure that we have resources and information so people know to put their cars away. We give information on the TikTok challenge, just something as simple as leaving your USB charger for your iPhone in your car could lead to your vehicle being stolen. Something as simple as leaving a backpack, which you know it's just your gym stuff, your gym bag, nothing important in there, but to somebody that's looking to steal something or criminal activity, they see that's potentially a laptop or a book bag or some money. So they break your window, they go into your car, they take whatever out of it, and you have to pay for a new window or windshield or whatever it is for just not taking your gym bag out of the car. So we try to make sure we're informing the public in those aspects. One of the unique things that we've been trying to do is when Chief Aziz first got here, some of our crime initiatives, especially enforcement, was just too scattered. It was too wide. We had too large geographic patterns to have our officers, and everybody knows in here, it's no secret that nationally we're dealing with staffing crisis, and PGPD is not immune to that. So if anybody in here is willing and able and wants to sign up, we'll get you signed up in the back. Somebody that wants to be a police officer, please have them come assist us. But we got one.
But 21 to whenever.
things that we saw is that because our resources have been shrinking and our crime has been going up, especially since the pandemic, is that we had to be more methodical with the way that we deployed our men and women out there protecting and serving. So what we did is we developed what we call a targeted enforcement grid, where we have specific areas within the areas where we have majority of our crime. And one of those specific areas here is the Good Luck and Greenbelt corridor. The apartment complex is right there near Duval High School on down to Cipriano Road. We found, and I don't know if anybody heard about what we've done with the Walters Lane initiative, but what we found and we've seen nationally, Major Rickard, who works in my office, did an excellent job of doing some research and looking at police departments like Dallas, Chicago, next door in DC. But we found when you can have an officer in a specific location for a dedicated amount of time, it impacts crime. The numbers go down, but what we do and what we've done for so long in police work is that we'll chase incidents. Instead of knowing, we know where the crime is, we have the data, it shows where we're having these repeat incidents and we have these crimes that continue to occur, especially with violent crime. What we would do is, instead of making sure we had dedicated resources in those specific areas, something would happen somewhere else and we would dedicate the resources somewhere in another location, instead of making sure we had a dedicated amount of police services in those areas. So what we've been trying to do is make sure that we have dedicated resources in each of these specific grids. Every division has their own unique areas. Some have more crime than others. Some have more property crime than others. It's violent crime. It all depends, and our commanders do an excellent job of looking at the data, working under the initiative, and employing whatever mechanisms and measures that they need to ensure that they're dropping the numbers. And for those that don't know, I don't know if we introduced them properly back there, but that's Major Durham, the commander of Division 2. So please make sure you introduce yourself to him. That is the mastermind behind making sure that the men and women in District 4 are safe and Division 2 are safe. But that's our methodology in a nutshell, is just trying to make sure that we're having a focused impact on crime and making sure that we're hitting all those mechanisms. We have to have community, we have to have prevention, and we have to have enforcement. But I already feel like I've talked too much, and I know the most important part is getting feedback from each and every one of you and making sure that we're answering your questions properly. So I don't know if anybody else is getting on the mic, or we'll just open it up for questions now. All right, it's question time.
Hi, good evening again. So my concern was about the students at Bowie High School during the year. Actually, my HOA is going to meet with one of the police officers, but during the regular school year, a lot of them are loitering on people's property. They're hanging out, they're shoplifting, and I'm recently seeing a lot of younger kids under 18 just going to the shopping center and panhandling and things like that. So what can be done about that? Because I know that the security officers in the school can't leave the property. And so what can we do about that so we can make sure that, one, they're safe and then there's in school learning, but also that they're not in the stores stealing and things of that nature?
Well, it's twofold, actually, maybe it's even threefold. But one is thank you for bringing it to our attention, and now that we know about it, we can address it. But Bowie High School is unique. And the SROs, or school resource officers, actually fall under my command as well. But we work in conjunction with Bowie Police Department, who actually has the school resource officer for Bowie High School. So we'll make sure we get your information and relay your concerns and work in conjunction with Bowie High School, as well as the security officers. But I know that for our SROs, what we do is when there's time, and it's usually when the kids are in class, we do truancy sweeps where we drive through some of the areas that we know the kids tend to hang out. And our SROs do an excellent job because they interact with the kids, they're mentors, and they figure out exactly what's going on with the student population and figure out locations like this where they can go through. And just like we were saying, our schools are many populations, many communities, so it's just real similar to what I said. If we have an officer that's there and goes to those locations, the kids will stop frequenting those locations, and we can get them back in school where they need to be. And a lot of times our school resource officers already know who the truant students are, and if they don't know, school security knows, and if school security doesn't know, the administrators know. So we have to work as a team to make sure we're identifying those students, and then making sure we're keeping you informed as well, to make sure that the parents are engaged and know that their children aren't in school, because, you know, it's surprising to me, because I don't know how she did it. I think it was telepathy, but my mother always knew once I started cutting up and made sure that, you know, I think she had informants all over the place, and that's probably why I ended up in police work. But we have to make sure, because it's surprising that a lot of parents don't necessarily know what their kids are doing or not doing, especially, you know, kids are smart. There's kids that are able to skip school and be truant. Some of them still actually come home with decent grades. So it's surprising to the parent that they don't know that they're missing school. So that's the short answer, but we'll work with Bowie City and make sure we relay your concerns. Ma'am?
I just wanted to piggyback on that, because I get a lot of emails and, questions about the truancy problem. And I know there's certain things you can do and can't do regarding truancy. Could you just briefly talk about that?
And it's a very delicate balance, because I don't know if anybody remembers that just, 3 years ago, 2 years ago, there was a very dedicated effort to remove police from all public schools, not just in Prince George's County, but Montgomery County and nationwide. So one of the things that we don't necessarily want to do is contribute to that school-to-prison pipeline, which is why it's important for us as police officers to make sure if it's something like truancy or loitering or things like that, where we know that these are students at Bowie High School or one of the other middle schools, Benjamin Tasker or wherever, we need to work with school security, work with our schools, because the last thing that you want to do is, have a child that, again, they skip school and they shouldn't be doing it, but you don't want to have them in a police car coming back to school or riding through the community and that child gets labeled. So that's why it's really important that we work with school security and we work with our administrators and teachers to say, hey, when we identify these students, to make sure that they're transported back to school, in a respectful manner. Because, the last thing that we want is to have that self-fulfilling prophecy where we have these students that end up labeled as bad kids, and then the police contributes to that. So we want to make sure that it's delicate. We want to make sure that we still have a concentrated effort in our schools. So if we have, God forbid, an active shooter or violence at the school, and we went through some numbers, but we've had 9 handguns recovered this school year, and it's actually 10 because we had 1 2 weeks ago at summer school. So those are the things that we want to be there for to prevent something, terrible from happening. So we want to make sure that we, address that. And truancy is important, but we still want to make sure that we're doing it in the right way. Sir. Good evening.
Thanks to all the law enforcement personnel, all the good things you do. I'm noticing a trend at our local grocery stores where they're only allowing us to come in one entrance. And I'm just wondering, I'm not sure exactly why, I'm assuming it's steps and things like that. And I notice there's a security person that's typically now hanging out at the doors. I'm not sure what role and authority they have versus the police. I'm wondering what you know about that.
We'll come touch on a touchy subject, Tom. We just met with the executives for Giant Food Store last week, and it is a trend for our retailers, and so they are doing it because of shrinkage. A lot of it internal, but a lot of it external. And so, as you all know, violent crime is a priority in the court system, and nobody's going to jail for theft. Let's just be clear. It's not going to happen, and for many reasons. And we're not concerned with petty theft, honestly. Those aren't the ones we're worried about. We're worried about, for instance, we have one individual that has stole over $300,000 from one retailer, one store, still on the street. Those are the folks we're talking about. Prolific criminals, being a nuisance to your communities. He was not in Bowie, but he still needs to be held accountable at some point. And so we're going to be working with our senators and lobbyists, and they are going to do the same from their end. But it is due to the amount of theft, and they don't want to close stores. Look, Giant told us flat out they got 18 stores in PG County, and they don't want to close any of them. And at least 3 or 4 of them are not making any money. But they don't want to be the ones, because of who they are, to create the food desert. They could close them tomorrow, and they just don't want to go there. And so I commend them for that, and we're going to do everything in our power to partner with Giant, Target, and all our other retailers to make sure we one I've ever had. So I'll just say this, thank you all for what you do. As Chief always says, crime fighting is a 50-50 partnership. We can't do it without you all. We are the community, you are the police, and we want to do this together. We're also having a backpack giveaway, only about 500. We can't do like the school and give away 10,000, but we got about 500 we'll be giving away.
Let's talk about it. Bringing topics, guests, and issues from near and far.
And the automated speed enforcement program. Thanks, Nate, appreciate that. My classmate back there giving me props. The automated enforcement division is managed by my captain, and recently, I shouldn't say recently, a couple years ago, they passed the residential speed camera program, where we're allowed to put residential speed cameras on any roadway 35 miles an hour or lower. My captain is, I'll call him a genius. So our current county vendor, Conduit, gave us a data set back in December. And Jason went through it. He knows how to read code. And he found there was a problem on our Maryland 210 cameras not issuing tickets above, I think it was 89 miles an hour. Conduit had no clue about that, so we kind of called them out on carpet on that one. And we also found through this data that some of the cameras weren't operational more than 15 days for the month. So anyway, so we called them out on it. So right now we're kind of waiting until we choose a new vendor. We have two that are leading the pack right now, Gen Optics, and I can't remember the second one right offhand, but we're currently testing these cameras. And as soon as we pick the company we're going to go with, we're going to do a widespread deployment. So currently we have two deployed on Richie Marlboro Road as part of the residential speed program, and we have identified 7 other locations in the county that would qualify for it, and we're continually taking on new ones. So in the meantime, until we can get the cameras out there, the Traffic Enforcement Division, which falls under our Special Operations Division, are going to be out there trying their best to hit these periodically on a rotating basis. Because what the traffic units do is anytime we get a residential complaint, it comes in, and we'll add that to their list. But it's 2 squads of a sergeant and 4 officers. So, like I said, they try to hit each one of these complaints on a rotating basis at least once a week. So, until we get that vendor, and hopefully it's soon, we're hoping to have it in place by this fall possibly. But the contract doesn't expire till February, but we're going to try to expedite that and try to.
If you got places you want cameras to give you a ticket, let him know.
Yeah, but be careful, because my wife is a great contributor to those cameras.
And I got to end on a positive note. Hope is not lost. We initiated our redeployment on July the 5th. We sent those folks, young men and women who are out here working every day and putting it on the line to work at, we lined up at 6 p.m. I think by 7 they had caught 6 carjackers. And so they're arrested. We're catching them. We're going to the right places in the right times, and we're putting them in jail. And knocking on wood, absolutely. DJS and DOC is doing a better job, not where we want, but a much better job of detaining these youth and these offenders, especially when they're violent. I think everybody finally heard us. It took a while, but they're hearing us, and so they're holding these violent youth and offenders. Property crime is a little bit different, but that's what we were focused on. That's what we begged for, and the partnerships are beginning to show some fruit.
Let's Talk About It is here to communicate, educate, motivate, uplift, and inspire people all over the world. See you next time. Let's talk about it.